If you've ever considered changing careers, there's never been a more exciting time to become an independent charter captain or a serpent cult member in the settled systems. With hundreds of planets to explore, the frontier is truly limitless, and the sponsor of this investigation is the gateway to it all. Starfield is the latest original universe by Bethesda Game Studios, the creators of Skyrim and Fallout 4. On September 30th, its first expansion, Shattered Space, launches on Xbox and PC. A new cosmic threat haunts the settled systems, and the enigmatic homeworld of House Va'ruun awaits your discovery. With the fate of their nation hanging in the balance, you'll navigate tense political intrigues, wield unique technology, and uncover lingering mysteries. A new life awaits you in the settled systems. To pre-order Shattered Space, you'll find a link in the description of this video.
Humanity has always looked to the stars. From its distant, forgotten wanderings across the plains of Africa, to the construction of the first gravitron loop array, the points of light in the midnight sky have provided inspiration, wonder, guidance, and mystery. Even today, a time when many of those same stars have been explored and colonized, to look up at the vast tapestry of the cosmos is to return to that ancient era, when the unknown beckoned with limitless possibilities. But of all those to ever gaze up in wonder, few have ever seen the same thing. Some envisioned a bastion of civilization, a place where humanity could build a new legacy and shed the worst aspects of its past. Others saw a grand frontier, where a wandering soul would be indebted to no other will than their own. And then there were those who saw in the stars the same opportunities for wealth and power that have always existed for the few with the ambition to seize them. But the most visionary and the most dangerous have always been those that looked to the stars in search of revelation, the pilgrims certain in the belief that in orbit of some distant point of light, answers might be found. Answers to separate those who are right from those who are wrong. It was this vision that forged House Va'ruun. Of the three interstellar nations that have colonized the settled systems, House Va'ruun is both the most distant and least understood. Synonymous with a post-Terran religion centered on the worship of a deity named the Great Serpent, it has been defined by its strict isolationism, sporadically punctuated by periods of intense expansionism and violence. Though set apart from the rest of humanity by their enigmatic nature and resolute in maintaining this secrecy, House Va'ruun wields considerable influence across the settled systems. This is often expressed through subtle manipulations rather than outright action, as its citizens have become experts at leveraging their mysterious reputation to instill fear and uncertainty among their rivals. Expatriates from Va'ruun act as spies and agents, feeding back information while posing as free captains, mercenaries, or simple settlers. Foreign analysts believe that House Va'ruun is a theocratic oligarchy, with numerous references among their people to a ruling High Council. Their nation possesses various ministries devoted to managing the affairs of state, with titles such as the Ministry of Commerce and Ministry of Conjunction, suggesting an intermingling of religious and civic authority. Spiritual doctrine guides political governance, and the High Council is able to justify their acts as a divine mandate. Though presenting themselves to outsiders as a largely unified and harmonious society, its divisions run far deeper than any might presume. Its very name is something of an obfuscation. House Va'ruun is, in fact, only one among several such houses in their civilization, albeit the oldest and most renowned. Minor houses include Dul Kef, an economic power, the centrist yet ambitious House Kadik, and House Vathal, whose unceasing support has kept the ruling House of Va'ruun itself in power through the centuries. This support, and the lack of any clear challenger, means that the leadership of House Va'ruun wields enormous power over even the High Council. The head of House Va'ruun is the de facto head of state. Without the support of these minor houses, internal struggles would have broken the hegemony of House Va'ruun long ago. But this balance of power is not beyond a sudden upheaval. The proof of this is in House Malin, a discordant element that broke away from their ancestral ties and plagues the settled systems as zealots and raiders. Worship of the Great Serpent permeates every level of Va'ruun society. It is expressed in a variety of forms, from elaborate temple rituals to daily offerings of simple prayers. Many followers of the Great Serpent can be easily identified by their unique facial tattoos, black robes, and their notoriously arrogant and standoffish approach to outsiders. Their ships are similarly emblazoned with symbols of their faith, and to most outsiders, this will be their sole impression of both the Great Serpent and House Va'ruun. The history of House Va'ruun begins with the Archimedes, a Deimos Plymouth-class colony ship constructed in the early days of interstellar exploration. At a time when pioneers competed to venture deeper and deeper into space, the colonists aboard the Archimedes set their sights far beyond even the frontiers of the nascent Freestar Collective. In 2190, the ship departed from the orbit of Mars and disappeared. Completely isolated from the rest of galactic society, what took place aboard the Archimedes can only be reconstructed from the records of House Va'ruun itself, which are now shrouded in religious symbolism and mythic embellishments. Their accounts claim that among the 346 settlers and crew aboard the Archimedes was a soul named Jinan Va'ruun. A victim of life on Mars, Jinan had lost his wife and son, and now sought a new life as far from the solar system as grav drive could take him. A colony beyond even Alpha Serpentis appealed to his desire to escape his old life, but if the histories of House Va'ruun can be believed, Jinan travelled to a place far more distant, a place that would change him forever. The journey of the Archimedes had proceeded without incident until the final jump that would take it far beyond the outer limits of explored space. Miraculously, the deep scans that guided their journey were correct. In a distant star system, they found a world fit for human colonization, but the journey had left Jinan Va'ruun completely mad. Immediately upon completing the final jump, Jinan screamed until his vocal cords could no longer bear the strain, continuing breathlessly in silence until he lost consciousness. When he reawakened, Jinan was a different man. Confident, bold, and possessing a powerfully magnetic personality, Jinan became a key figure among the colonists. Even amidst the most difficult hardships that came with taming this strange frontier, he was a calming, steady presence. By 2193, the colonization of this newfound world was well underway, and Jinan was at the forefront of the effort. But his popularity threatened to undermine the authority of the Colonial Council. This concern proved accurate. Soon, the ruling council had voted to disband itself, granting Jinan unregulated control over the entire colony, which now referred to itself as House Va'ruun. His rapid ascent to a position of leadership, driven by a wave of unprecedented support, has never been fully explained. Stories persist, however, that during a critical moment in these early years, the colony faced some sort of imminent disaster. Jinan alone seemed to understand its nature, and his advice was credited with saving the colony and all its citizens. Yet, how he had come to possess knowledge and insights far beyond that of his peers could not be explained. In the wake of this averted disaster, Jinan described for the first time his experience during the final jump of the Archimedes. While the jaunt had been instantaneous for everyone else, Jinan had found an existence beyond time, beyond space. Yet he was not alone. The stars slithered around him, coalescing into a majestic form that seemed to encircle the entire universe. Jinan explained that somehow he understood that whatever it was, it still dreamed, but the time of its awakening was coming soon. When he awoke, he knew that only those that worshipped the Great Serpent would rule beside him as kings and queens amongst the heavens. By the dawn of the 23rd century, their world was now known as Va'ruun, and the worship of this new faith had overtaken the entire colony. In the decades that followed, the colony expanded, though limited resources stymied progress in many areas. In 2230, the Archimedes, heavily modified and rechristened the Morning, was sent back to the core of the settled systems, re-establishing contact with the rest of humanity and opening the way for trade. But the re-emergence of the Morning was only a part of this effort. Secretly, delegates from House Varun established less formal connections, creating a more clandestine method of shipping supplies, technology, and contraband back to the colony of Dazra. Treated as an exotic curiosity by the citizens of the United Colonies and Free Star Collective, and eager to embrace their mysterious way of life, thousands flocked to join House Varun. From here, they vanished from the public eye, wholly integrated into the worship of the Great Serpent. In 2240, House Varun dropped its pretenses. Bolstered by a decade of black market deals, its members adopted a far more hostile attitude towards outsiders, labeling them heretics worthy only of destruction. For the next 22 years, hostilities escalated between Varun and the rest of humanity, culminating in a devastating conflict that would come to be known as the Serpent's Crusade. In 2263, Jinan Varun succumbed to old age, and his eldest son, Jarek, inherited the mantle of leadership. An armistice was signed. House Varun renounced any future hostile acts, and in return, the location of their home star system was left undiscovered, allowing the nation to once again retreat into obscurity. For the entirety of his rule, Jarek pursued a policy of rapprochement, even establishing an embassy on New Atlantis, capital of the United Colonies. In contrast to his father, Jarek believed that the judgment of other souls could only be performed by the Great Serpent. The role of his people was only to spread their truth, so none could claim ignorance when the time of the awakening began. This radical interpretation of their beliefs created the first cracks in their society, as not all of the minor houses endorsed such a stark doctrinal shift. Whispers of heresy and apostasy spread through Dazra, and were even repeated by Jarek's own brother, Jandar Varun. In 2274, Jandar, along with his supporters in House Malene, were banished from their world, becoming raiders and pirates that prowled along the frontier. Upon the death of Jarek, leadership again passed down the Varun family line to his eldest son, Anasko Varun. Neither a crusading militant in the model of his grandfather or a conciliator like his father, Anasko instead sees the future of his people in advancing technology, specifically improving upon the grav drives that first brought their world within reach. Upon his direction, a new council of scientists was formed on Daza, promising to secure House Varun's dominance in the settled systems through unparalleled advancements. For those on the frontiers of the settled systems, rumors purporting to describe the activities and secret plans of House Varun are common, scandalous, and mostly fiction. But the tone of the whispers is shifting. From New Atlantis to Aquila City, the stories are all the same. Something has happened on Varunkai, a power never before seen in the settled systems. None can say what it might be, but one thing is certain. House Varun was right. A revelation waits in the stars, answers for those with the courage to seek them out.
Thanks again to Bethesda for sponsoring this investigation into House Varun. If you'd like to uncover the secrets of the Archimedes, the lost history of Jinan Varun, and the mystery burning at the heart of Varun Kai, Shattered Space is available September 30th on Xbox and PC.